Hamburger SV against Everton Football Club. This is my match review, and this time it's going to be a little bit different because I actually attended the match yesterday. So I will start with a little vlog and then I will add my match review afterwards. Hope you enjoy.
It's been 7 years, and finally back at an Everton game live. Unreal. Welcome to the Hamburg preseason game. Once again, greetings from Hamburg. Fantastic city. Came over today for Everton's preseason opener. Came over from Berlin. Spent a lovely day so far in Hamburg. Perfect weather. And now let's see what Everton can do. Just checked the lineup. So far the most balanced lineup, I would say. So we have Tarkowski and Brandtwaite as a partnership. Don't know if we've seen that one so far. Then we have Iroegbunam at the 6, who I think has a pressure to perform today. Hasn't been good so far this preseason. And then Hackney again, which is pleasing. Dewsbury Hall. And Merlin Röhl today probably on the right wing. And Tyreek George on the left, Barry up front. Pretty good lineup. And let's see. I checked this Hamburg team. I think they lost two of their most important players from last season in Fabio Vieira and Vuskovic. Came back to the Premier League. So I don't know what to expect from them. It would be important to, of course, score a couple goals. Maybe get a win against a Bundesliga opposition. I think that would be much needed right now with not the best atmosphere around the fan base. So let's see what happens.
Yes, as you can see, my initial plan was to do a lot more filming in the stadium and then after. But since it was my first Everton game live in person for almost 7 years, I I prioritized actually enjoying the experience, enjoying it with my fiance, also talking to some Everton fans on the ground and just taking in the game. So I ended up not filming too much over there. So let me give you my match review the morning after. Overall, very enjoyable afternoon. We had a fantastic day, and I thank the Everton team for rewarding us with a 2-1 victory, actually seeing 2 goals, even though one again was more like a Dundee FC goal. But it was a very, very good afternoon. Had a wonderful day in Hamburg. Fantastic away game. Yeah, let's also say Hamburg, beautiful, beautiful city. We had the perfect weather and I was impressed. I've been to Hamburg a couple times, but I haven't been in almost 10 years, I'd say. It's a beautiful city. The stadium of Hamburg, the Volksparkstadion, wonderful stadium. Still close to the pitch, but 57,000 people, and there were 40,000 present. So it was a good atmosphere, beautiful everything, beautiful ground, beautiful weather, fantastic occasion. I think also nice touch with the double header there with the women's game starting, which was also nice. So the Everton ladies won as well. Congratulations to them. Ornella's got a good goal from what I've seen. Unfortunately, couldn't catch the match myself because we only had a couple hours in Hamburg. But yeah, good to see. Overall, very nice occasion, fantastic preseason game. I think Everton can take inspiration for that. These such trips are really they make it worth it, even though the game itself is probably not on the level of a competitive football game. It was clearly a preseason game. So now let's talk about the game. Everton won, fantastic, 2-1 against Hamburg. Finally, a win again after failing to do so against Bolton and Stoke, against on paper opposition that should be a little bit better than these two teams. Hamburg is an established Bundesliga side, had a pretty decent season, but as I said before, they are missing, I think, two of their key players from last season. I think it showed, especially that center back pairing. I think their defense looked a little bit suspect because they're missing Vuskovic and they're also missing Fabio Vieira. Even though I think like their number 11, I think Grombeck he's called, he played pretty well. So maybe they have a replacement for Fabio Vieira there. But still, Hamburg, pretty decent opposition. So that Everton got the win overall. Away from home is a positive. Now the game overall, it was an okay game because the second half was, I would say, overall good, but the first half was pretty bad, even though Everton were 1-0 up. But apart from that goal, and I think one or two moments, that wasn't a very good half of football again. Hamburg were overall the better side in the first half, and Everton, I think, were lucky to be 1-0 up ahead. It's not a disaster. It was nothing to be super worried about. It didn't feel like Everton simply they weren't quite up for it. They weren't fully up to speed. Were a little bit slow. From minute one, it felt like there was no urgency. And yeah, I think it showed that they didn't play with the required necessary intensity to actually put pressure on the opponent. And then Hamburg is a Bundesliga side that can pass the ball quite well. If you don't put pressure on them properly, if you just run with 80%, well, they will find it easy to play passes against you. And yeah, so Everton really couldn't go into any kind of pressing, win the balls, and that lineup kind of relied on transition moments, which didn't really happen a lot. So first half, even though overall good game, the first half was not very good, and I was a little bit worried watching that because it was on paper not the best lineup, but it was an established a lineup full of players we will likely see next season. And first half they looked a little bit worrying. But then the second half, that was much better. There was more intensity. Everton was able to break through the lines much more. We had several good chances. I remember a shot from Thierno. I remember some good crosses from Dewsbury Hall, a shot from Alcaraz, attacks play with the right intensity. Even though, ironically, again, Hamburg scored in that half, I think the second half Everton were the better side. And that second half was more encouraging, and it was nicely rewarded with a pretty lucky own goal in the end, which meant Everton ran away with 3 points. Maybe a little bit fortunate, but we'll take it. So we have another preseason win, and we take it also for the vibes, right? The last few weeks have not been, again, a very fun time, and I think currently we take everything that is somewhat positive, we take it. And then we also had the positive news that Everton signed Christian Nørgaard, which is also was also well received from what I can tell in the stadium. I think it's a very good signing. Obviously not the most exciting signing, not a talented youngster, right? For several million. It's more like a veteran signing. But I like this signing because it's exactly the type of profile I want for the number six. Some people were talking about Mandela Keita, but I was never so excited about that guy. Not because, okay, on paper you could say he's more exciting. He's young, just emerging talent. But I think in terms of profile, the way he interprets the number six position, I prefer Norgard because I hope he is like he brings us a little bit more footballing, like just simply more footballing ability, better passing range on the six. We've had Idris Agana Gay for many years there now, and now we throw in Tim Iroegbunam. And what do they both have in common? They're very good on the defensive side, monsters in one-on-ones, but with the ball they are quite lacking. And I think it constantly hinders our build-up play. Everton have struggled with that massively, and I hope someone like Norgard, the way I remember and the way I've watched him, seems like he's a little bit better on the ball, while still being a very resolute defensive midfielder. So that to me seems like a very good business, not just because of the conditions, but because it fills exactly the type of number six profile we need, in my opinion. Now it becomes a question: what do we do with Tim Iroegbunam? Do we keep him because he's like our only very, very defensive minded midfielder? Or do we sell him? I would say if a decent offer comes in, because he has some market value, at least, let's say 15 million, something in that ballpark, I'd be tempted to sell him. Based on this preseason, that was the time for him to show he's ready to take another step. But even again yesterday, he wasn't very good. And I think he's a defensive option, but with him in the team, Everton overall have a terrible balance. They don't find a way to play out from the back. They're forced to constantly defend. And based on preseason so far, that does not result in a more safe team overall. Maybe it's time for him to find another club. Sorry, just got interrupted there. So now let's talk about individual performances. Who had a good game? I think it's the story of the preseason so far, and I'm very happy about that. I think the standout performer for Everton yesterday was Merlin Röhl once again, and I think he's really starting to come into his own. You can really see he's looking more confident on the pitch. He was really able to show a new energy level to me yesterday. He looked stronger and taller than anybody on the pitch. As a German, that is always something that stands out to me when you compare Bundesliga to Premier League. Like the players are just more physical, more athletic, and Merlin really showed that yesterday. Was able to push off many of these Hamburg players, run, stretch his legs. He already looked impressive in the warm up before the game. Like he has a massive shot on him as well, which we haven't seen. So Merlin Röhl again with a really nice, really good performance. Got the goal as well. Makes it look easy, but that wasn't so easy. Like think if that falls to someone like Beto, it was a little bit more clumsy. I think very nice change of feet, very easy finish, fantastic goal from him. And I think he's really knocking on the door to be a starter now. Now the question becomes, where do we play him though? Where will we start Merlin Röhl? There are three scenarios where he could play, and I'm still undecisive where is his best position. I want to do a Merlin Röhl individual video anyway, but if you're watching this and you catch this part, tell me, what do you think? Where should we play Merlin Röhl? Because I'm conflicted. Of course, he's on paper, he's a central midfielder, so you would say play him in his natural position. But then you look at what are his strengths so far. He's impressive when he's able to run with the ball. So yeah, something like box-to-box midfielder on paper. But do we find this spaces for box-to-box midfielders a lot in Everton? Maybe as a 10. But I also think the right side solution could also work, both either as a right back or as a right winger. Which doesn't mean we should not buy another right back, by the way. But I could see Merlin starting as a right winger. If we don't buy another winger, I think he probably the starter against Crystal Palace on the right wing. I could see that, and it wouldn't be ideal. It wouldn't feel 100% great to to start a player out of position when you have so much time to prepare. But on the other end, it will feel like it feels under these circumstances feels like a decent option because we all think like we need to play Merlin Röhl. Merlin Röhl has to start. So let's see how that shapes up. But I think overall he's been the best player of our preseason so far, the biggest winner, because he has done everything correctly so far. He deserves to start for this Everton side. And then let's think who else played a pretty good game. Thierno Barry wasn't didn't have the best game until then, but the goal, the assist for the goal, is the biggest moment of quality we've seen from any Everton player this preseason so far, right? That is like a moment of individual brilliance. He more or less created, if not more than half of that goal. Really nicely done, like perfect back heel. That's elite. Really nicely done from Thierno. And overall, I think he's the second biggest winner of the preseason so far because, in my opinion, now he's firmly ahead of Beto. I think there's no debate who should start. Who else can we mention? I think mixed bag, but again, we saw some promising signs from Hayden Hackney. Offensively, I think he looks like a good upgrade. He looks like he has a good positional awareness, definitely technically very gifted. But what I would say as a warning sign, we have to worry. Like there were he had plenty of turnovers in this game, which could have been quite costly. Like he lost balls in areas where ideally you don't want your midfielder to lose them because that was sometimes in his own half. If Hamburg had a bit more of a attacking threat there, they could have been potentially dangerous. So my initial when we signed him, I was pretty clear this guy's not a number 6, and I think so far how he's played, that has been confirmed. Again, I simplify things, but I say I divide the midfield into 6, 8, and 10 in terms of the how far someone plays up in the midfield, and I think he's definitely more on the number 8. He's not a number 6. Our number 6 on the number 6 position. If we'd start today, I'd probably put Nørgaard and then James Garner. Those two are our deepest midfielders, in my opinion. Okay, Tim Iroegbunam, but again, to me, he shouldn't be an Everton starter. So that will be interesting how the midfield lines up. Probably Nørgaard, Garner, and then who? Dewsbury Hall? But I'm not sure Dewsbury Hall is best in the number 10. See, now we have we have almost a conundrum in the midfield, which I think re-emphasizes that we should probably sell Iroegbunam. We have Dewsbury Hall, Hackney, and Armstrong, who, in my opinion, are all belong to that number 8 category. I think they're all best in the number 8. And then I say Merlin Röhl is a box-to-box kind of player, so he would be almost like a 8, but probably no, he's more like a 10. So the midfield, I think the midfield is very interesting now with the arrival of Nørgaard. I think we have another out-and-out number 6. But what does that do to James Garner? Where does he play? Won't a James Garner, Nørgaard, and Dewsbury Hall will that not be a little bit too tame, defensive-minded midfield? Will be full of control, but I'm not 100% convinced that is the best solution either. Even though these 3 on paper are probably the ones you would start. But back on topic, what players? Yeah, again, on the negative side, it has to be said, Mykolenko, absolutely nothing going forward this game. The defense, Branthwaite was okay, but was a little bit shaky in the first half. But okay, nothing to worry about, all fine. The bigger worry is Tarkowski. I think we're all in agreement. There has been a clear tendency last season, and preseason continues. He looks slower, and he has to cope with fouls more, often caught out of position. I think as of right now, James Tarkowski probably shouldn't be a starter for Everton anymore. He's more like a rotational player, potentially still a good center back. But the center back pairing, in my opinion, has to be Branthwaite and O'Brien, which I think Moyes should definitely try out in the next few games to let them develop some chemistry there. O'Brien, right back, again, re-emphasize that he's not a right back because offensively he offers almost nothing. Defensively, though, he was fine. but offensively he was nowhere to be seen. There was a clear difference between how Merlin Röhl played that role the games before. So we learned that back four, what we saw yesterday, is almost needs to be completely revamped. The only one that's starting from there should be O'Brien, I think. Aznou came on for 20 minutes or so. Was a much better left back, much more offensively involved, looks more lively. So I think Aznou, based on this preseason, deserves a start. Do I believe Moyes will start him? As of today, probably not. Yet to see that Moyes will be brave enough to start Aznou. But if he persists with Mykolenko, I think that in itself is a major offense and makes me lose a little bit of faith in him, because Mykolenko's been terrible all preseason and now seems to be again have his starting role again, based on nothing, based on showing no real good performances so far. Then in midfield, Dewsbury Hall first half not that great, but second half definitely grew into the game. Had a very good second half. George on the left again tried, but not much came off. More like the game against Bolton than against Stoke, because I thought against Stoke he was very good in the first half. Yesterday against Hamburg he tried, put some nice passes in, but wasn't happening so much yesterday for him. And then who came on as a sub? We didn't make that many meaningful subs because most of the subs came on late. I think the brightest sub was actually Braden Graham, because he was able to, didn't have massive moments of quality, but ended up in a way getting the assist for the own goal. And he was lively. He got on the ball and he played with a sense of urgency, which was very nice to see. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said again of Tyler Dibling. Only had one decent moment in the end where he cut in nicely and his shot was deflected. But again, overall, given that he got almost 30 minutes or 20 minutes, I think 20 minutes, again, he looked a bit like a passenger, wasn't very much involved. Would have loved to see him get more on the ball, but the concerns over Tyler Dibling continue, unfortunately. So yeah, overall, again, good, pleasant preseason result. Good for the vibes. Nørgaard coming in, also very positive news. Right profile for the number 6, and overall perfect away day. Wonderful Everton experience, one I haven't had in a while. But now without taking anything away from the positive, definitely a lot to work on. I think this Everton team still needs to find its balance. I think Moyes should be braver with the back four. We should like to see the back four that we all believe should start, being right now Aznou, Branthwaite, O'Brien, and who? Röhl, I guess. Röhl as a right back, unfortunately. But that's, I think, would be the best four right now. And let me also say something before I was start recording I wanted to say. I think yesterday again, I had a moment which reminded me why I'm an Everton fan. Like the Everton fans again, I was also able to talk with some of them, which is very nice for me personally. Wonderful fan base, very warm, very friendly, and I don't know. I was inspired by them. I sat there quite negative about the first half, but the Evertonians find a way to even be joyful under all these circumstances. I think it's an amazing fan base, and yeah, in this case, you inspire me. I'm also feeling positive today. I think, yeah, we'll figure it out. I think we'll be having a good season for whatever reason. And you guys, you the other Everton fans, the fan base I'm part of, inspire me to feel like that, because on my own, I would, even despite the result, I probably wouldn't feel as positive as it if it wasn't for the Evertonians, who, I don't know, are very able to find joy in very from very tiny bits and pieces, and I find that impressive. So again, thank you for inspiring me, Evertonians, and yeah, let me know what you think. See you next time. Adios.